Hello, everybody. Good afternoon. Welcome to this live stream. Yeah, nice to see you all on the change of day on the Saturday. Yeah, so for the next month, just be aware that I'm traveling a lot. And so I'm most probably going to do pre-recorded talks that are uploaded on Sundays. So yeah, just keep an eye on my channel and it'll tell you what's going to happen on Sunday at 4:30 French time. Okay. Yeah, next weekend there is the talk with Ananta, the satsang with Ananta. That was so sweet if you made it to the talk. Me and Ananta like really love each other, and I just feel like part of the satsang wasn't just us answering, but it was also like our sweet connection together. It was such a sweet connection. Yeah. Yeah, and I find it also really yeah, a bit of a mentor as well. You know, she's been teaching non-duality for such a long time, and whenever there's anything, I can reflect it back with her. Yeah, and she's currently helping me with my perimenopause symptoms. So, yeah, yeah. So that will be uploaded next Sunday at 4:30 French time. There was quite some weird editing that I had to do because it did record everybody's face. So I had to blur everyone out. So it looks quite funny, and names out as well. Yeah. Okay, but we shall start the talk. What is wrong with non-duality? That is the title of the talk today. Yeah, and I don't make up these titles. I just pick them sometimes randomly. I search what is popular, or I see it comes up in my feed, and I see what a talk title, and it inspires me. And this one came up, and I just feel like non-duality saved. I don't know how to say that. Saved my life. But like that's a weird thing to say when you really understand non-duality. Like whose life was it anyway? So whose life could it have saved? But yeah, that's what I feel. In another way, I feel like it's all predestined. That's how Ramesh used to call it, even though there is no past. So again, that contradicts itself. But it was like that was the karma that was meant to happen in this life. Yeah, I came across this subject. And I have immense gratitude or love. It's maybe not gratitude anymore. It's just turned into like immense love for my teachers. Yeah. Like gratitude, again, is a funny feeling when you see it's all the divine, but just such love for them. And a sort of appreciation, but also that's sort of more in the background. It's more love, but these ideas of appreciation or gratitude. Yeah. Yeah, I remember after it happening, like just feeling this intense feeling like, how can I be grateful for this? like how, yeah, for words. It's like a sentiment that I'm trying to express. So, in another way, it doesn't feel like anything is wrong because everything is in perfect play. Like, we were studying Ananda Mahima's book the other day, and one thing that she said, which I thought was so beautiful, was that, you know, every time you quarrel with the outside world, you know, you're quarreling with God. You're arguing with God. Like, how can you argue with God? You know, so if you've got workers that rip you off or something and you start fighting with them, like you're fighting with God. Like, how can you fight with God? Like it's yourself, it's the divine. Like how can we see like that there's this non-duality out there that's done something wrong? Like who and what? What non-duality? Like what would that be if it's all a movement of the divine? So maybe before I go more into the subject, I'll do what I usually do, is go into some direct pointing of what non-duality is. What's really amazing here is that over the years, there's just like a deeper and deeper love for this subject and the communication of this subject. Some friends that are teachers, they sort of lose interest in teaching, maybe some of them after over a period of time, the repetition of it. And there's also complications about being a speaker, communicator of this. But I just love it more and more. For 13 years, maybe it is now, I've been saying this day after day. I mean, I'm not only talking about it on the live streams, but to people in person. And it's just grows. The love for it, the beauty of it, the perfection of it. Like from doing these book clubs, which I have to say is really profound for me too, to read these masters I haven't read for a long time. Just reading them, just like what wisdom and perfection, the way in which they communicate, and the difference in the way they communicate, and the similarity in the way they communicate. Just such appreciation for this wisdom that comes through. Yeah. So, what is non-duality? So, non-duality is, what the title suggests, is it's not two-ness. So in our society, we are subjected to the idea from the moment we come out of the womb that this world is dualistic, that we are a subject in relationship with objects. So we are a baby. So Lisa was born out of my tiny mother. She had 2 huge kids. She married a big man, a tall man. My mum is tiny. So this huge baby to this little mum came out, and everybody is like, that's Lisa. My name was meant to be Lisa with a Z. I don't know if you can hear that if you're not native English, but it got misspelt. So at first they were like Lisa, but then it got changed to Lisa. On my birth certificate it got misspelt, which is kind of really perfect and fitting with my dyslexia, that my name got misspelt. And they were like, oh, I can't be bothered to change the birth certificate, let's just go with Lisa. So they're like, you're Lisa, Lisa, hello Lisa. So there's this constant indoctrination that I am somebody. Whereas what was I prior to everyone telling me that? So there's a few moments, when you come out of the womb, before you get given to the mother, and everyone starts calling you your name. And what was I prior to coming out of the womb? When people hadn't given me a name. And what was I prior to being conceived? And what will I be after death? And if this body is always changing, so they say that it gets regenerated every 7 years. If it gets regenerated every 7 years and always changing, like what part of that am I? So now my body is slightly different from what it was before, and then now it's different, and now it's different. So if my body is changing, then who is that? What is that? Who am I if the body's changing? So then you might think, well, you're the thoughts and the energy which is inside. But don't the thoughts and energies inside change? Am I the same thoughts and energy as when I was 3 or 4 years old or 5 years old? My same energy as when I did something bad as opposed to something good, when I'm in a good mood or a bad mood, or when I'm anxious or not anxious. Like, who am I? What is this fixed thing which is called Lisa? But what happens to the baby is, because it's told so many times that it is a name inside the body, it begins to seek to form an identity, begins to try to actually form a solid identity to live up to what everyone else is calling it. It's also most probably genetically ingrained in us as well for so many thousands of years that we've been misappropriating, if we can say that word, this idea. So who is this person inside the body? It's always changing. It's never real, never fixed, never solid, never something you can find or grasp. Like, I can't grasp this apparent Lisa that I've been told I am. Yet there's two things that are always constant in the changeless. Oh no, in the changeful. So there's two things that are constant in the changeful world and in the changing you. So in the you that is changing, there's two things that stay the same. So your thoughts change, your body changes, your ideas change, your environments change, the people around you change. Like, my mum is so different from, when she gave birth to me. And also, I realized with my friends, like, I'm not a mother, but I realized that my friends that had children, they all changed when they had children, quite a lot. And I was like, that's mostly the same with my mum. She was most probably quite different. Like, I found that a lot of my friends, when they had children, they sort of lost their playfulness. Mostly because it's so hard work. And most of them, work and have kids as well. And so the mother is changing, the father is changing, the environment is changing. But there's these two qualities that remain the same, that were there when you were 5 years old, 10 years old, 20, when you were bad, when you were good, when you were anxious, when you were sad, when you were happy, your birthday, Christmas, Diwali. Don't know if I say that correctly. In all the things that happen, these things remain the same. And these two qualities that remain the same, that never change, are pure consciousness and a sense of being, existence. These never change. What happens though with the beingness and the consciousness is that the personality that you've been told so many times that you are thinks that it is alive and that it is conscious. So the personality owns those, and it makes it feel like consciousness and the I am belong to this story that you've been telling yourself and others that you are, and this story that you've been seeking to create, this person that you've been trying to maintain, like, this is who I am, this is who I am. When I was younger, I used to feel embarrassed when I changed my ideas. Like, I thought that was like an embarrassing thing to change your ideas, that you had to have fixed ideas for the rest of your life. And then when I look back on old ideas I had, I was like, ooh. Whereas now I see it as divine that we grow and expand and change ideas. That's a really beautiful quality. Yeah, so this beingness and this consciousness gets claimed by that thing that feels and pretends that it is solid. So it feels like it is conscious and it's inside the house, inside the head. So it is conscious and inside the house of the head. And it is being, it is alive. So then it fears like when this body dies, I will die, because it feels like it's alive. But what happens in non-duality is that that can begin to separate out. So there can be this separation from the consciousness from the thoughts, the feelings, and the ideas of who you are, and the sense of existence. So what normally happens, this is one form of awakening, is there is a recognition, this is a very deep awakening, that there is a stillness prior to the thoughts and feelings of you, that there is something that is watching you. And that recognition is a form of awakening, and it's really deep awakening. There can also be another awakening where you realize that there is a love, which is the beingness, that isn't dependent on anything. There is a love and a home and a peace which isn't dependent on anything. It's not dependent on you and your stories, what you get, what you don't get. It doesn't come and go, it's there before everything else. And that's, the love is the beingness, and the emptiness is the empty looking, is the consciousness. And you can awaken to those at different times. I never used to really realize that when I had my awakening. I did awaken to them at different times. But yeah, it took me a while to work out that, and that happens in other people. And these can happen at different times, and they normally say that the loved one is like the embodiment. So Adyashanti would say it's like when you go from the head to the heart, and the empty looking is this like stillness, this peace, this emptiness, and nothing's actually happening. And then eventually what has to happen is those two have to fall in love again. They have to merge together. And so the consciousness stops being behind the eyes, or behind, and the beingness stops being, say, maybe in the heart, and they merge together, so they become everything and nothing. So everything is conscious rather than you. And that's an energetic expansion, and that's what I speak about a lot of the time. So it's like the consciousness and the love are all things and no things. And this is where your essence stops feeling limited. And I call this the end of suffering, the end of seeking. Because once that expansion happens, then there's deep relaxation into what you are. Deep knowing of what you are in every moment. The character still rises, and I find that here there's still old karmas and patterns that get sorted out in the body. So the body is expanding more and more to that realization. But this energetic shift is this resting, this snap, where it stops, your essence, who is experience, stops being in here. It's seemingly looking through these bodies, but it stops being limited. So your essence feels like it's everywhere and nowhere, like all places and no places. And the beingness and the consciousness feel like they've merged into each other as one energy. And then the character appears in that. So where before it felt like the character owned that, the character is a phenomena that's coming and going in that. And then it's like, it feels like what happens after is like this character gets washed out more and more and more, all the seeking patterns, karma. So it becomes, the character like becomes more and more still and more peaceful. That might have started prior to the awakenings, the soothing, smoothing, releasing of the character, but then it normally carries on for some after the awakening, for most. You get some that maybe it doesn't carry on. Because there's always everything. This world is every possibility. So what is wrong with that teaching now? So now I've kind of expressed what non-duality is, and what is wrong with that? I see it as absolute perfection. But like everything, I can see the potential good and bad in the apparent story. But ultimately, it's perfection. And yeah, the negative sides of the teaching of non-duality is that sometimes people that don't want to deal with the problems in their life or with the problems of the character, they hear non-duality and they think it's a quick fix, and it becomes a new story of them and a new way to avoid life and themselves. Yeah, I noticed that that's very prominent in Western people. I feel like we have this quick fix mentality. Maybe it's a bit of an effect of capitalism, like this idea of like chucking things out, when we're done with them or something. It's like you can always go and buy something new. It's like this mentality that, okay, like all I need to do is listen into non-duality or understand the concepts, and then I'm done. And then some of them understand the concepts, and then they become a teacher from that, and they think they know it. Yeah. Like it's not something that you just get and then everything's done. That can happen. That's very rare. For most people, like prior to hearing non-duality, there is preparation of the ego. So in India, there is often practices like Nisargadatta. He points to focusing on the I am and linking it up with the breath. And in India, they have different practices like yapa, repetition of God's name, kirtan, devotion, service, physical yoga, stretching yoga, kriya yoga, like all different types of practices to help balance the character and sow the soil. Is that what you call it? Sow the soil? No. Reap the soil to prepare for the seeds. Yeah. Occasionally you get those one seeds that just pop, hear this, but that's most probably because in previous lives they've done lots of apparent practice. Yeah. So the one thing that I would say, if you're listening and you think that you're enlightened or you think you've got it, or if you're looking at teachers, is just recognize if they're talking about love. Love is like you see, they can register this subject and they can intellectually know the emptiness, and it feels like they've got the emptiness because there's some part of their mind that can look back and see that there's nothing there. And then they can kind of see in the mind that consciousness isn't separate from everything. And that is part of the process, but then it goes deeper to it going beyond the mind and beyond the intellect. And when it begins to go deeper, then there is this love, like Satchitananda, that begins to bubble up. And my experience is sometimes is that when the teacher or the person, the student, is speaking about this subject and they're not mentioning love, then it might be that they've just had an intellectual awakening and it's not actually expanded or merged with the beingness yet, the love part. So it's still more mind based, even though that's quite deep to some extent to get to that point, but there's still further for them to go. So when you're with someone, if they're not mentioning love, and if often, and if they're not mentioning it as a teacher, then that is something to look at, and also look at in yourself. You know, if you think that you're enlightened, something. Yeah. I think that that is the biggest problem with non-duality, is that part. But it's not really a problem because in the end it's all karmic. So if you get stuck in those traps, that's exactly what's meant to happen. It's like the perfect teaching for you. It's like a gift from God that's saying, this isn't true, this isn't true. Like, go beyond, go beyond. Every hurdle is the opportunity to expand. Every hurdle. Okay, so we can go to questions. Does anyone, you can put your hand up in Zoom. Oh yes, advertisements. Yeah, if you've got a question, you can put your hand up in Zoom, or you can write it in the Zoom chat, or you can write it in Telegram. Just so you know, there are some events that are coming up in August, and there's still places left. There's yeah, doing a retreat in the UK at the end of August. Yeah, and if you're, yeah, and that is all actually. If you want to join these Telegram groups, so you can ask questions during the live stream, and also I do some smaller talks as well that aren't recorded, then you can find out about that on my website. It's under live stream. Okay, we have a question from Lean. Yeah, you can unmute yourself, Lean.
Hi.
Hey, Lean. Nice to see you.
Hi. Yeah, thank you for the talk.
Yeah, pleasure.
Yeah, a question came up about you spoke a little bit about it, about things being predestined. I often heard that, but I keep on like finding it a bit confusing.
Yeah.
Maybe because it's not so. I don't know, because I notice when teachers speak about things being predestined, it feels always very relaxing because I'm like, oh, good, I don't have to do anything, it's all fine, like everything is perfect in a way. And but when it's then I also hear about, there are infinite possibilities. Like everything is possible. And then it seems as if like one thing could happen, but another thing could also happen. And I'm guessing that both are probably true, even though they seem contradictory. Um, I don't know, like is it so that like it just seems as if there are infinite possibilities? Or there are I can't
Yeah.
but it as if both are true, but I think I'm trying to understand it with my mind, and that's probably not possible.
Yeah. Well, what's your experience? Have you ever experienced that there has been two routes that happen? Or has there only been ever one route that happened? Like route meaning road.
In a you mean like if I look at specific situations that I experienced?
Yeah. Was there ever two roads that were taken?
No, that's clear. There's always just one thing happening,
Mm.
and like it's not seems like it's not possible that some other thing could have happened because all the circumstances were like this. Um, so it seems like it's impossible that something else could have happened, and like there's also not somebody here behind. Like if I'm speaking, there's not like a somebody speaking. So the speaking, I could also probably not have chosen to not speak because, like, I don't know, it's just happening. Like uh, it's like I'm not doing this now. So this
Yeah.
is. But what is it then with the infinite possibilities? Like, or
Yeah.
is that because maybe it's because I'm seeing this from like like the this body, me speaking here, and the infinite possibilities are everything that could happen as all the forms that appear
Yeah.
seemingly. Is it more like this?
Um, the way that it would come here is it's so really there is no destiny, because destiny implies that there is a past and a future that you're gonna
Mm.
have that's already written. So Ramesh used to say everything's in the can, meaning like everything's filmed already. They used to use cans, put the film in a can, and he'd say it's all in the can. But really, that can't be the truth, because the future never happens. So it can't already be in the future, already happened. But what it's trying to speak about is that there's no other way than whatever appears. So whatever appears can only be the way it is.
Mhm.
And then it comes to like, who is the creator of that? So everything is being spontaneously created from you as the divine, as that divine energy. But you as that divine energy is not a thing. So you can't so it can't have any plans. It can't have any future ideas of what it's going to create. It's only creating spontaneously in this moment. So it means that it can't be any different from what's happening. So it is infinite possibilities. Like anything can happen now. Like suddenly maybe the whole environment could change and we could be on rockets to outer space. Anything could happen. But it can only be what happens. And there's no you or me or anything in this world that can change or influence what's happening right now. Even if we felt like we were the manifester and we put energy into manifesting and then we got what we wanted, that still wouldn't be you that's doing it. It'd be the infinite that's doing that. It would be the divine which is doing that. Just giving the appearance of somebody manifesting their reality. So it is deeply relaxing, like the idea of it being predestined, that deep relaxing is actually what it's meant to do. It's meant to help you give up the reins of your life and give them back to God, which is this creative force which is happening spontaneously now.
I don't know. It just feels so good when you speak about this.
That's because really the teaching is silent, you know. The it's
Yeah.
beyond, it's prior to words.
The words are also just like the bodies and just like everything. It's just like all the same.
Mm,
It's just
mm.
it's just the same. Yeah. It's
And
just it's like in a way it doesn't really matter what you say, even or what I say. I mean, I'm not in a negative way, but I mean, like it's just all, yeah.
yeah.
I don't know how to say it, but it's like it's there's not really something there or there.
Mm,
Like it seems like there is, but that's why when you speak and when it comes from like any obstacle from like source, then it's just so direct and it's just like recognizing itself.
mm. Totally.
It's just funny.
It is, I mean, it is crazy because who is speaking to who? It's just it's in this moment, life is recognizing itself through the appearance of someone speaking about it and somebody listening. But the true teaching is this silence that's underneath it. It's just giving the appearance in the dream of us communing about it. And that silence is all places. It's the air, the space around you, behind you, in front of you.
Yeah, I don't know if I understand it so well, like intellectually, but like I don't know if it's on which kind of level then, but it kind of feels light and
Mm.
spacious or something. I don't know exactly how to describe it.
Well, you're connected. I would say that you're connecting with yourself. It's not you as a character, it's that you as the self is resting in the self again,
Mm.
big self or big consciousness.
Yeah, not as someone, but myself.
Mm.
Yeah. Just that I cannot understand it intellectually, but it's like I don't. It's like I cannot say anything about it.
Mm. Totally. But yeah, it's happening.
Mm. Yeah, it's not like here or there, or it's
Mm.
just yeah here.
Mm.
Yeah, this is very relaxing.
That's all that anyone's ever wanted is resting in self.
Mm.
And the illusion is always that that resting that you're looking for, this deep relaxation, is something in time, is something that you can get, an idea, a thought, a behavior, a practice, a way of being. It's always right here.
Yeah, I noticed that there's like I don't know how to describe it. Like where I really am, there are no people, no time, no objects, nothing.
Mm.
It's just that I think the mind comes and tries to understand it. Like, what is this? In fact, like I don't understand it.
Mm.
But even that isn't really something, I guess.
Mm.
just like completely transparent.
Mm.
But it's like I also don't know where I am then.
Mm.
It's a bit strange.
Yeah, and that's what keeps the person as a limitation, as something, because what you've always been told is that you are something.
Mm.
And so to remove that, it's like suddenly becoming naked.
Well, it's like nothing to hold on to or grasp, or nothing, nowhere to go, or nothing where I can like put my foot down or something. There's nothing to stand on.
And nothing that can keep distance between you and me.
Yeah. I mean, there is no distance anyhow.
Mm.
But then I think there's it's not strong. I don't even know if it's real, but it's like maybe a tiny fear around it. Like, but what do I do then? But that's also funny because
Yeah, but this, what do I do? It keeps distance between you and me, between you and the world, between you and apparent objects. There's like a way of keeping love back. Like what, even that thought, like what do I do? Like there is an imagination of a you that needs to do something in time. And to put that to sleep, we don't have to say there's nothing to do. Like ultimately, that's the truth. The resting isn't an activity. The resting is resting. The you is activity. So, and it's the you that is activity that is lost. So it's like what is in the experience that's already at rest now. But while that you is scrambling around and coming backwards and then dissolving and coming back, and what you can do is you can focus it. And this is what a lot of spiritual traditions teach. But you just know that in the focusing act, that doesn't lead you to freedom, because that world cannot be free. It's what's prior to that. But if that person is like oscillating lots, or running around looking for things, or addicted or something, or up to monkeys, or causing trouble, then all the focus goes into that world. So you can, they teach in most spiritual traditions is focusing the mind. So like Nisargadatta would teach putting the attention in the I am. Some teachers teach putting the attention in the feeling of consciousness, or that sense of being conscious. Some teach, like repeating God's name. Like, so there's different things. Some teach focusing on the breath. Normally, a lot of them, like Nisargadatta recommended, like matching up the I am with the breath. But then eventually there is a going beyond, like focusing the mind, because it's not I'm saying don't do it, but it's recognizing that rest which is here beyond that. And then some people, it's not even so great to do a focusing of the mind, because then they begin to battle. Like their mind begins to battle, and then the focus comes in of this battle, like I've got to protect myself from my mind by focusing, and then that becomes a something, an activity. And really this is what is in the experience that isn't in activity. The one that focuses attention is a movement in time, is activity. So it's like Papaji would say, just stop. Like it's what is resting already.
That makes like when I'm listening, is like makes the most sense when you say just stop, and what is already resting. That feels recognizable or something. More than trying to focus, because like any kind of focusing is like a going from one point to another, and there's 2 points. So it's just like
However, I wouldn't dismiss the practice, as well. Like when the mind is looking for something, it is maybe better than it just going wild. But at the same time, it really is what is at rest now, prior to any activity. of you. Another one that Ramana Maharshi recommends is just asking, who are you? So when that is coming up, like who wants to find something, or who wants to rest, or who wants to do something.
Yeah, then you see it's just like a thought, in fact. I think that in fact it's just like some, in fact lately I often feel very peaceful, but I think there's just sometimes some kind of fear when there's like this big nothingness and this like deep rest, and it's a bit as if like, oh, this is like so vast or so.
Yeah.
There's a bit of fear coming up
Yeah.
often when this is
Yeah.
so open.
Yeah, totally. And the fear and the love are so close together. That fear, and it's like the opposite side of that fear is this immense love. So, you know, that fear coming up is actually, you're really getting to the core of something. You're really getting to the bottom of that person, of the limitations. But it can be very scary.
So it could be interesting to be curious about this fear.
Yeah, totally, yeah. And if it gets too much, then you can stop, bring yourself back, do something very human. But yeah, if you can be curious and sit with it and allow it to be there, not reject it.
So there's just this deep longing to open my heart completely sometimes.
And that's, when the fear comes up, like that is what the other side of it is the love side, of the beingness side. They're so close together. And so with that longing to open your heart, like so Papaji, he would teach in, one of the most, or most teachers teach this, the most important part of this is the desire for freedom. So Papaji would suggest, like really burn in that desire for freedom. Because in the apparent world of things, it's desire that creates things in a way. So in Advaita, it's like what gets us born into these lives is desire. So the goal in Hinduism is to not be born again. And why we keep getting reborn is because there's desire. And so desire is, like, I don't call it desire, but that's what Papaji and Nisargadatta and Ramana call it desire. I call it seeking. And seeking for God in things rather than recognizing God in yourself. Like that is the desire or the seeking. And so when you desire to have a lover, or when you desire to have kids or a house, it's not that those are bad, or when you're seeking for those. It's not that they're bad, but it's just that's what will manifest in the life. When that changes and then there is truly a seeking for God, then that is inevitably what will manifest.
Mm.
Because
Yeah.
it's not like you are somebody that's creating these desires and manifesting. It's just the way in which life moves.
Mm. Yeah, it's impersonal.
Mm.
The desire just comes, and by the fact that it comes, will be manifested, no?
Totally.
Uh,
It's the way in which God is manifesting. So Papaji, his suggestion was to let it burn, because in every desire you always have the taste of what you want. So you can't long for something you don't know. So in order to long to be free, in that longing there is freedom. So just like when you're longing for a watermelon, like so for example, you already know and have the feeling of what a watermelon tastes like. What you can't long for something you don't know. So he would be like, long for it with all your heart and let that like burn you up, like that will like set you on fire. Because it's
because
in there is the seed of that which you long for.
I sorry to interrupt, but it's like you say, I already know what absolute freedom is.
Mm.
That's why I long for it.
You wouldn't be able to long for something you don't know. Just imagine, we can't long for something we don't know because we wouldn't know it. So imagine like something in deep space. Like we can't imagine what is out there, so therefore we can't long for, say, something that is out in deeper space
Mm. Yeah.
that we don't know. You can
But,
only long for something you know.
but what I'm really longing for is myself, no?
Yeah.
That's the real longing.
Mm.
And I already am myself.
Yes, but with the illusion of not being
Yeah.
yourself. So what you can do when you're having desires for other things is recognize those desires for other things, and then be like reformulate it. Like, so if you're longing as for company or to not be afraid, like reformulate it to, actually what I'm really longing for now is home, is freedom. Every longing is a longing for freedom. It just gets confused in objects.
I understand what you're saying. Like it's never we never really long for a partner or a house. We just think we do because
Mm.
we don't know what we really are. We don't know what we really long for. We all long for the same because that's what we are.
Mm.
Is it that what you're saying?
Yeah, totally. Yeah.
That's beautiful. Huh. And to recognize that if I long for something else, to recognize what I really long for.
Mm.
To because yeah, I also like I've always, even though there's no past, but I don't know how else to say, but I've always felt strong longing and desire, and it has been directed, especially when I was younger, in different directions. But yeah, it makes a lot of sense, in fact, what you say.
Mm.
It was never that what I longed for. It
Mm.
could also never be fulfilling.
Mm. It will never end. So I think it's Ramana, no, or no, maybe it's Papaji, or maybe all of them say something uh, like the more that you accomplish a desire, the more it breeds desire. Like, so the
Mm.
more you like get onto that train, the more that you encourage that or seeking.
And is that because if you long like for something, like if it's a house or a child or a partner, or whatever, in fact, you then long in separation, no? Because
Mm.
you're like, imagine that you're someone longing for something, and like that would always be unfulfilling because then you're never yourself. Is it also in
Mm.
that sense?
Yeah.
Mm.
And then you're kind of it's like the bit of the hungry ghost effect. It's like the more that you don't get it, the more that you try to get it. You notice it in humans, like it starts out slow in childhood, this longing for things, and then it gets worse and worse and worse. And then your life gets more and more busy because you set up more things and you become more and more uncomfortable, so your longing becomes more and more desperate. So it's
Mm.
never really works. It just gets more and more.
Just, I don't know. Just like there's something so beautiful about all this. I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
something so pure.
Yeah.
Like it somehow like shows that it's just right here, even though it's like can't really fully get it, but it's like I can feel that it's just right here. I don't know why I'm even saying this, but like it's just being said anyhow. So
Mm.
like it's like as if like it's I don't know, like it's as if like just like happiness is just right here, but like there's still like a kind of thought, but like how then or like it's just like kind of thoughts still turning around us or something. I think I'm gonna start acting weird again. I think like I feel this in my heart, and I feel like I'm gonna start crying or laughing or not if I continue. I have it sometimes, like it's like ooh, suddenly it's like I don't know what's happening. I mean, it's fine, but it's just yeah. Oh, Lisa, I love you so much.
Yeah, I love you so much too, Lean. It's very energetic when we speak.
Yeah, I feel that. It's strange. Like I even get a kind of there's like a kind of like nothingness, complete vastness, and then there's like suddenly a kind of I know it will probably sound very weird, but I'm just gonna say it like kind of like as if being on another planet or something.
Thanks, Lean.
Thank you so much, Lisa.
No
Thanks for that.
pleasure. I just have to go to the toilet and then I'll take the question from Bodhidharma. Okay. Okay, I'm back. So, Bodhidharma, you can unmute yourself. He's gone to the toilet too, eh?
He's gone.
So it's just us. Did you have a question?
Yeah.
Oh, you did?
How can I stay in the sense of I am and talk from the space?
Do you mean the practice of the staying in the I am, where you put your attention in the feeling of the I am?
Yeah, and when, if this works, how to speak from that place? Because, for instance, before the satsang, I went with Bodhidharma to get something to eat. And when I got lost, and he was like, "Yeah, speak from the I am, otherwise I won't listen to you."
Basically, so when you put the attention in the feeling of I am, there is this presence that comes about, this feeling of presence. So when you're interacting with the world, you can't really keep being like I am or putting the attention in I am. So it's like feeling this presence, and then rather than you speaking, letting the presence speak. But I'm giving you a description of what happens, not a prescription. So it's basically like being immensely present. And so you're so present, there's nobody there that could speak. So it can only be presence that speaks. And you just let it come out. It's different from like being unconscious, like say if you're at a club and you're dancing and you can kind of like your body can dance and then you can be thinking about like something else. It's not like that. It's like there's immense presence and then that presence speaks. But it doesn't know what it's saying, just speaking. It's something that will begin to come more and more clear and happen more and more.
I just feel like when I'm trying to do this, but often I just feel like being run over, like that I can't really speak, or like that nothing really comes out of my mouth, like nothing when it comes to planning or doing, just like right now even it's like I like if I don't know, it's
It's a totally different way of being. Sorry, I think it got a bit muffled there. It's like a totally different way of being. So like with Ananda Mahima, I think it could make her look a little bit crazy. She'd just be standing with someone and then they spoke to her and there was no words that came back because it wasn't her that knew how conversation should go and that she should say something. Just either came or didn't. I mean, this is why in India, they have this whole sannyasin thing and sadhu thing going on, because often when there is waking up happen, you begin to fall out of life. I'm not saying that you can't be a householder and you can't do your regular things. That's possible. But, for some people, there's this period where, you can become quite strange to the outside world. When I first met Roger, I really shouldn't talk about him too much, but I just tell this one story. I'm sure he's told it on his live streams. Like remember him telling me like how he went through a period where he thought, if God is doing everything, then surely I can cross the road or walk home from my friends with my eyes shut. So he like really experimented with all this, like shutting his eyes and then walking home for his friend's house. And then he eventually realized, I mean, he was all right every time he did it, but then he eventually realized like God gave me eyes for a reason. The eyes were meant to be open. Walk home. So but just like that, I'm just like trying to communicate, we go through these weird processes where things have to be really investigated. And then it becomes a bit hard to maintain this like social character in which we created, which our work will be dependent on, our family will be dependent on, our friends will be dependent on.
How was that for you?
Well, it still goes on. I'm very weird. And I sometimes forget how weird I am, and then I tell someone something. And then I realize. Like sometimes me and Andreas, we have like, oh, oops, I'm not meant to say his name, sorry. Me and my partner, we have like these silent times. And then sometimes, like, could be for days, I won't really speak, and I will just like make sounds at him. And then we have these boards. They're actually lost at the moment. I have to refine them again. We have these boards that like magic pen writers. You know, you can write on this board and then rub it out, then write on it and rub it out. And I just write things on that to him. And then he tries to speak to me and I just make sounds. He's very patient and understanding. But then sometimes he tells people what I do in private, and then I'm like, yeah, that really sounds cuckoo. Like I must have told Angela, you know, Angela from Simply Always Awake, and I told him in such a matter of a fact way because I was just like, this is so normal for me that I'm weird. And then he was like, huh, wow, your partner is really understanding. And I was like, yeah, of course he is. Like, as if like, of course anyone would be. Like, this is the most normal thing. And I can go sometimes days without really communicating to him, just making sounds and squeaks. So I don't know if that really, it's just fortunate that God allows that to, you know, supports, or you could say it's not fortunate. There's a lot of stories that say, you know, once you give everything over to God, then God supports. And I'm also in talks, maybe I don't know if you can see that or not, like I'm really trying to, it's not trying, it's like what wants to happen is there's an energy, a movement of energy. And this body is like not trying, that's the wrong word, like it's lining up with that. It's not always possible in talks because coming in contact with other people, and there's, I don't know if there's an old karma or old idea I have to release in Lisa, or whether it's like what life might call compassion. Like it doesn't want to really crush people, you know, while it's recorded and put on the internet. It's not that Lisa would be mean to people, but I think that she would sometimes not reply or just ask someone to stop talking sometimes, if it really followed the energy. But, you know, it's like, it's one thing doing that one-to-one or in person with people, and then it's another thing doing it on the internet when it's being recorded and put out there. That can be quite traumatizing for people. But that could be just old dynamics or karmas left in Lisa, or that could be what life wants to happen.
I mean, you can try it out and you can see what happens, right?
Sorry?
You can just try it out and see what happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
And sometimes when you talk to others and you just feel like being quiet, do you usually do this, or is there like something inside of you that comes up and starts chatting with people although you don't feel like doing it? Like just trying to be nice or kind or polite?
I'd say that there is a small percentage of times when there is that, like trying to. It's not that I'm trying to be polite. It's more like not what I perceive or what's perceived here as crushing the other person. Sometimes, though, the energy can't be bothered to stop them speaking, so it just goes really quiet and just lets them speak. So the energy just goes inside itself and lets them speak. It almost sometimes feels like it has to be absorbed by something, or the speaking energy. Like it's being absorbed by silence, like in the olden days where you used to have those ink pens, and then when they like leaked, you'd had this blotting paper. I think you're way too young for that. Did you get taught on ink, these fountain pens when you were a kid? These ink? No, you didn't. No.
I think so.
Yeah, so it's generation before, and you have this like paper in which you put on top when it leaks, and then it absorbs the ink.
Oh yeah. No, we still had this in the first grade. I feel like you're like a power bank where you can plug into and then you get charged.
Do you know what it feels like from here? It feels like the opposite way. It feels like everything's being like sucked into it, like into like this. It's like a black hole, like every word, like.
And I also wanted to say thank you again for the satsang with Ananta. It was really nice.
Yeah, really rocked, didn't it? That was really
So nice
sweet.
that you organized it.
Yeah.
By the way, how did you guys come across?
Oh, we were in a women's group. Well, actually, that was how we became friends. We were in a women's group together, a non-dual teachers women's group that met every month and just shared. And then me, her, and Mani, we did this subgroup thing for this project, and then we just started chatting and became quite close. But we had also lived on Koh Phangan at the same time together, but we'd never actually become friends there. But that was when we came across each other, and we had friends in common. And
And I have one last question. I don't know where it's coming from. Like, I can't really tell, but either I feel like today like it feels like you are more energetic, or I don't know, maybe if two people are sitting in front of the screen, it's like it kind of feels like it's much more like it's like if there are more people in the room. I don't know where it's coming from, but it feels nice. I mean, it always feels nice, but
Yeah, when there's when there's what happens with more people in the room is, what I notice is that it can be like a ping pong. So if Bodhidharma then starts really resonating with me, and then you start really resonating with me, you then start resonating with each other. So it becomes, this is like what's so beautiful about meeting in a group. It's satsang. It's also the same with kirtan. It's like infects you. It's like the whole, it's like a group energy happens. And then who does it start with? Because whose was it in the first place?
you.
Do I have more than you? And who would it be that has more than you? It's like, it gets all very weird. Like black holes, I suppose. Nice, okay, maybe. Yeah.
Thank you. I love
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Thanks. Okay. So we got next, Matisse. Yeah, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, Lisa.
Hey.
Hey. Uh, it's so funny being in the satsang. There's always a lot of like laughter, and yeah, it always feels such a good moment of the day.
Oh, oh, that's really lovely.
And sometimes, it starts off with you feel like you have a lot of like questions and stuff, but then after a while, it just feels like everything those questions were about was it just feels all very intellectual, like for the mind to sort out in some way. And then when you sat in the satsang for some time, it just feels like the questions just fade away. Like you just become more clear. The whole experience is just like, oh, but is there really a question, or is it just, yeah. But I was just, in my experience, it's been, for me, I feel like there's been a lot of detaching from things that I took to be the person, like speaking and, feelings and emotions. And I had a lot of anxiety, from social anxiety. And now it's more, I feel more and more, and the thoughts are coming up that it's not me, it's what this body mind is expressing, for example, in a social context, is actually God expressing itself through me or something like that. So the anxiety is really just becoming less and less, because that understanding just takes away the person from the one who I thought I was, and just being able to sit in what is happening and just being that this is just God's will in some way, like it's destiny instead.
Yeah.
And I still get caught up with friends and family a lot, because I feel that's where my personality is very strong. I mean, the sense of person is very strong, like with friends and my family. It's very easy to just like, it feels very personal when you're in the,
Yeah, it
but
is hard work to be somebody in front of people. And then with each person, like with your parents, with your friends, you're a different person for each of them. And then you've got to maintain that person. That is a lot of work.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's why that's been the fuel for my awakening. I think also that it's just been so much anxiety with the person. Like there's been so much, you have to be in a certain way, and you have to somehow, I felt so responsible for how the social environment was, that this person was so hard to live up to the expectations. And then it was just pushing me towards the realization that it couldn't happen. Like I couldn't be that person. It's just impossible. So I was just feeling the anxiety and feeling it and feeling it. And then I think there was a shift where, thanks to non-duality teaching from you and from Roger, a lot. And then I'm starting to read I Am That with the, yeah. So it becomes more and more distant, and it just feels so much better. But you said once that when you started to become more and more empty, it was like you said that someone could just take you in your hand and just walk away with you, and you would just be like, all right, yeah, that's nice. I mean, and then you said, like, I think Lisa has to come back in some sense. I was just wondering, because I feel also that I'm emptying myself, or this is just like, I feel strange in the social context. Like sometimes I don't know how to relate to myself, or how do you say, to the body-mind organism, or to people around me. And then, but it's like they don't exist. So there's no person in there. So how can I feel compassionate for someone who's not even there? Or is it like, and then it's just God in there. So I guess I'm like feeling compassionate with myself, or, yeah, just having a bit of trouble wrapping my head around. So if you can just clarify a bit, when you said like Lisa had to come back, what did you mean by that?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no,
I was just
I can speak about that. How do you feel like if we just drop into silence for a moment? So yeah, what happens with awakening is that you become more and more and more empty, like empty of any self, and so then there can just be long periods of like resting in this emptiness and love, and the body can become very passive. Nanda Mahima's like, don't blame me if like your whole life collapses because you just become more and more resting in that emptiness and that love. But then when you come to interact with the world, there needs to be a character. Otherwise you're just in absolute unknownness, experiencing. But when you relate with people, there needs to be some form of character, or when you relate with the world, there needs to be a character, otherwise, in a way, the world will just eat you up. So you need to then begin to, what happened here was two things. I needed to pay attention when in relating with people to very subtle feelings in the body. The body is like a traffic light. So when you're like just in the emptiness and the love, it's like almost the body completely disappears. But then when you're relating to people, you need to pay attention to the subtle traffic lights of the body. So the body is saying stop, go, like, don't like. And that's what I mean, like Lisa has to come back to an extent, like when relating. And then also when you're doing more intellectual work, you have to have more attention in the thoughts and in the thinking. And then what also had to happen here, and this might happen before the shift, but what happened after the shift here was I also had to learn psychology to an extent. But that might be different for other people, because before the awakening, Lisa didn't have the best boundaries. So she wasn't brought up with mentors that had great boundaries, so with family members. So she tended to be easily convinced of somebody else's way. So a no would come up and then she would be easily manipulated into somebody else's way. And so after awakening, that became problematic, because it was almost like Lisa had less and less will. At least before, she had some form of defenses, but after the awakening, it was like she had less and less will. So what I had to begin to learn was psychology, and I had to learn the difference between characters and characters' behaviors. So I had to learn about these. It was like the body had to learn how to put up better boundaries and what manipulation looked like better, like an intellectual understanding, and learning it to the point until it sort of became automatic, like a bicycle, like riding a bicycle. And still sometimes I need reminders on that. This body mind needs reminders. It wasn't brought up with mentors in this life, and it's most probably karmic from previous lives that had good boundaries and could easily say no and stay to that no. So then this character copied that, so other people would come in that had very strong wills and manipulate and dominate Lisa. And Lisa would be very passive. Before the awakening, Lisa would be very passive, and then eventually she'd explode in rage because she couldn't take it anymore. But after the awakening, the rage part stopped, so it was it became even more vulnerable in a way. So there had to be a learning, and like life always is, it was very compassionate, where it enacted that. It gave some situations where Lisa was really taken advantage of, and it's these things in which we learn. Once you've really, really been manipulated and it's really obvious, then you learn from that. And so it was a very beautiful gift, and it showed me the vulnerability of this body now, that it really needed to learn characteristics, and when someone's being manipulative, what to look for with empathy, with understanding, what healthy conversations look like when, you say no, and then what a healthy response is and what are not healthy responses. I just didn't have those role models growing up, so it just wasn't a natural response to say no. And then when the other person, because most people, if you say no to them, they're like, and then it's how self-aware are they to either try to manipulate the situation or accept the no. So it's how mature are they to, so it was I knew what the no was, but then I was sometimes easily talked out of that no. I could feel the no in the body, but then I'd get a bit confuddled by the other person.
Yeah. I think I had the same with my parents. My mother didn't put boundaries at all, so I also need to practice that even now. And that's what I'm trying to figure out. The spiritual awakening, and then there's the body-mind organism, needs, the needs of that too, to feel good, and because that's also when you don't have boundaries, you get stressed out over a lot of things.
And then social anxiety can come.
Getting stressed.
Yeah, social anxiety can come because you're interacting with people and you're not putting up your boundaries, so you're being walked over.
Yeah, and I felt afraid going into social environments, because when I don't, and I realize that now because I didn't have any boundaries. So people could just push you around, and then you're afraid that someone will push you around. But that's just because you don't have any boundaries. And then when I started to practice that, setting boundaries much more, and how that feels like and how it looks like for me to do that. I feel much more relaxed when I'm in social environments.
Totally,
the body is not reactive in the same way. It just feels kind of calm. But it was, I think I had a long period where I was thinking the spiritual awakening part, and then the body mind work, the body work that you talked about. I felt if I find my true self, will well, all the needs are like, will I set boundaries, for example? Will that happen automatically? Or because, you know, I don't know, then you're a complete person.
Well, actually, it does happen automatically. So then it's just that it might not all happen in one moment. So after
No.
that shift happened, all the places in where this character needed to heal, it was shown very clearly. So it does actually, it's like life is always compassionate. It always brings you the right thing. We think that we're running it and that we've got to work these things out or not work these things out, but it's actually life is doing it. So you investigate your true self, and then the boundary stuff comes up. And that is because you've gone deeper into the true self, and the true self is then showing you on the character level where there needs to be work or change by the flow of life, by the situations, or by anxiety. So it is kind of, but it's just you're working on two different levels. You're working in the story, and then the true self is out of the story. But as you begin to rest in the true self, it's like all that which is out of line in the personal will become highlighted. The difficulty is, even though it's not really a difficulty, is that there can be a period of too much passivity, because you begin to zone out into like the emptiness, the stillness, and there needs to be a coming back from that, and the character needs to set boundaries. And it's very simple boundaries, is that in every moment, if we put it in human language, it's like you have a right to do what you want to do. So not being nasty or being mean, I don't mean that. I mean like you have the right to say yes or no to things, even though it isn't ultimately you doing it, but your body, you'll feel it in your body the more that you pay attention. Like I always used to know what it wanted and what it didn't, but then somebody else would convince me I was an asshole for that, and then I'd be like, oh, that was so vulnerable to that. I'd be like, oh, am I being uncompassionate? I was so susceptible to that. I've still got a weakness there, but now I realize it, that if you say don't want to now help someone carry their plants up from the basement to top floor, you've got every right to say no. Then the other person might say, you're selfish, and I've done this for you and I've done that for you, and then it's like, do you wobble from that, or do you negotiate, or do you? But your body knows, like instantly, your body knows what it wants. Like that is God's energy coming through. And sometimes we have to compromise. Sometimes that's part of life. But it's how mature is the other person to be manipulative or to just be staying in their wants. They're like a healthy response would be like, I really understand that you don't want to do that now, but just from my side, if I don't do it by tomorrow, I'm going to get sued or something, and I really would appreciate help now if you could cross your boundaries or something. That would be, and then if you say no for a second time, then it's like, okay, that person has to back off. There's no like, but all the things I've done for you. Who do you think you are? You're a narcissist.
Keep them coming.
There's
what
a really
more can I become?
what more can I was susceptible to that one, but now I get it. Now I'm like, okay, I know the difference between a healthy response to my no and not a healthy response.
Yeah.
So there's a really good channel that I found called Psychologist in Seattle. You can find it on the reference page on my website, and he's a therapist that comments on couples on YouTube or on TV shows, and it sounds really superficial, but it's actually really cool because he's really good at like pointing out boundaries and how to deal and negotiate with these things. And you see it sort of live playing out with people, so it's like really clear, and you're like, that this is unhealthy response.
Yeah, sometimes you need just show me what boundaries look like, and then you can just practice it.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. Okay. Yeah. All right. Yeah.
Like in the end, the coming back to yourself is all that's needed. But in coming back to yourself, it is going to heal the character. And the character might think, okay, I'm doing that, and I've got to now go off and heal the character. But it's actually the true self that is then creating those thoughts.
Yeah, exactly. It's just, it feels like you have to have, you just remind yourself, and that even that is also coming from coming from God. It's not you thinking about it. It's just happening. And that's why you just feel like every time you come back to a satsang, or every time you just pick one of the non-duality videos on YouTube instead of like something totally different, like a rally video or something, and you just sit there and just like, yes, this was actually what I needed.
Yeah.
But it's the whole spiritual path is just, it's so many question marks, because it feels like you're living a totally different life compared to every other person in the whole on the planet. Like everyone's getting their families, working jobs, getting careers, and you're just sitting on your sofa and going,
Who am I?
okay. It's God's will that I just sit here now, and that practice that's enough, and you just feel so like you're in a little bubble of time, and you're just like, but then somehow I feel when I look back, like what happened to the body, mind, organism before, it's always like, aha, that's why I had to go through that.
Totally.
And I feel like my destiny is already fulfilled. It's already happened. So probably if I still live in 10 years, I'm going to be able to look back and be like, aha, so that's why I had to sit on the couch for, 3 days straight and just be like, okay, this is God's will, just to sit here.
Yeah.
But it's the mind comes in so strongly and just like, you should be doing this and everyone else is doing that, and you should be successful and all that. And you're just like, oh, yeah.
The only thing that I would suggest, and really it's like God's suggesting, I'm not saying I'm God, let's Lisa, but like the suggestion that is appearing is if you can find some spiritual community, that could be really interesting and really beneficial. I don't know what country you're in. I think you're in a Nordic country.
Yeah, I'm in Sweden.
Sweden, yeah. So, I mean, Sweden has got lots. Have you ever heard of like No Mind Festival?
No, actually not. No.
There's a massive community there. It's in Sweden. If you look up No Mind, and they actually have it's like a massive property, and they run retreats there. I know that Paul Hudcomb or something used to go there.
Okay.
And do talks, but they've got a whole community that live there, year round. But they do a massive No Mind Festival, which I think is in July every year.
Oh, wow.
So I just say that so you can actually look them up. They're in They're in the southwest, I think, of Sweden.
All right. Southwest. Okay, nice. Yeah, actually, I've been looking, or I thought I've been looking for like someone to hold satsangs in Sweden or something like that, just to be able to have that, that spiritual community as you were talking about.
So there's a teacher that goes to Sweden a lot, who used to go to Sweden a lot. His name is like Paul Hudcomb or something. Paul Hud. He's from England. I don't know how you spell that. If anyone here knows who I'm talking about, like type it in the questions or type it in the YouTube chat. Like Paul Hudcomb.
I'll write it.
He was from Muji, I think. Yeah, from Muji, I think. Yeah. But he used to go to Sweden a lot the last time. No, not Paul Hedman. Paul Hudcomb or something. He's an English guy. Paul Hedman's American.
All right. Well, I have time, so I can probably Google.
Yeah.
Google
these things. Yeah, and maybe there's other people like that are in Sweden now that can reach out to you in Telegram or something.
Yeah, that would be great.
Yeah, that maybe know community or just the reason that it suggests is just so in India there's like, and in Buddhism and in Hinduism and in the Vedas, and there's always this these different things which are suggested, and one of them is Sangha, and the reason it's not that it's super important. If you haven't got Sangha, which is community, that's okay. But the reason why it's suggested is so, like you're saying, so you can reflect things back, because at the moment what's being reflected back to you is a separate life. You know, you're interacting with people that are coming and treating life as if it's separate, and creating a life as if it's separate. And so if you meet more like-minded people, then their lives will be less based on that. And that will have an impact. Like everything in the end is a teaching. Everything in the end is the divine. And so when you put that into the focus, then the body-mind will orientate towards this more different way of living.
Yeah. Yeah, that sounds really good. Because none of my friends are spiritually interested at all. So it's really hard to, some maybe a bit more like they're very Christian and you can talk about the Bible and stuff like that, and they can relate to some, because non-duality is very practical. So just talking about how the concepts leads to happiness for someone and how they can see that you're not talking so much about God. It's more like this body-mind organism. It is how it is because, like, you don't have to see yourself as a doer. It's just life is only a happening. And then they're like, oh, okay, that feels nice in some way. But then the conversation are not that long, but yeah. Okay, but thank you so much for
Pleasure.
all the thing. I'll look it up.
Yeah, I'm so happy that you listened to Roger as well. Like, I have such love and appreciation for Roger.
Yeah, I started listening to him, and then I went to a retreat at Bali. Was the latest retreat in last October.
Oh, fantastic!
And it was so nice. It was so funny to meet him. He's so funny. I think when you told the story about Roger, when he just walked home blind and like closed eyes, I could just so much see him doing that. You know, he's such a character.
He is, and he looks so normal. You know, when he speaks, like he was an investment. You know, and he dealt with money, and he looks and comes across. But then after a while of speaking to him, you're like, this guy is quirky.
Yeah, he's so quirky.
Like
he just says the most strange things when he said that, he's a spiritual teacher, like he's going to be so wise and everything, and then just things just pop out of him and you're just like, what did you say? You felt like doing what? Yeah.
So this one with the shutting the eyes, the way that I found out about that, I don't think it was even Roger that told me. So we went over to the neighbours, and when the neighbours first met Roger, they weren't into spirituality at all. But then eventually, like, he got them into non-duality and into spirituality, and like he used to teach like all three of us together, and he met them before I met them. So he went over to theirs for dinner one day, and then they said to him as he was going home, they don't know anything about spirituality and they don't really know him very well. It's like the second time meeting him. Would you like a torch? It's dark to walk home. And he's like, no, I walk home with my eyes shut. And then like the first time I met them, they were like, do you know what he said to us and what he does? And he's just sitting there like, yeah. And then he explains the story very rationally. Yeah. I just wanted to see if everything's God's will, if I need my eyes to be open.
I love how blunt he is about it too. You know? Like if it's God's will, then it will happen. Yeah. It's like, okay. And I wish I could be just that blunt with a lot of things.
It is so endearing. It's so beautiful. And with these neighbors, like she owned a marketing company and he was a builder, you know. They had no concept of this, like nothing. They have this massive property, they're really successful, and he's like, no, I don't want a torch, I walk home with my eyes closed.
Yeah, just like, that's totally normal. I mean, why not? You know, I can see his facial expression when he tells them. Yeah. I'll just close my eyes and walk home. And you're just like, okay.
Oh, that's so sweet that you've met him in person and
Uh,
you understand this like humor that I have
yeah,
about it. Like he's so
yeah,
like the first time he told me about his previous lives, it was so like, oh yes, I often had these previous lives, and then he went on to tell me them, but it was so normal and mundane the way he said it, and I'm like, you what, Roger?
yeah,
Yeah, he was really funny.
yeah. It was a joy meeting him, and I had a lot of things coming up during the retreat, and I also catched a cold for 1 week of the 3 weeks I was there, but it was really eye-opening too for me to not being able to go there because there was a lot of thoughts coming up and just like, oh, now what if I only had this 1 week more, and like I would probably be much more spiritually awake if I hadn't catched a cold or something like that.
Yeah,
And then it was just like, now I'm thinking that something, I'm projecting this thing that in the future could happen to me, and I just, when it just took me realizing that was happening, it just brought me back to that
yeah,
little bungalow where I was having a cold, and just it was fine.
yeah.
I was so peaceful. It felt so. The cold was really necessary, I think, in a spiritual sense.
Yeah, totally. If you spoke to Roger about it, I'm sure that's what he'd point to, that it's a processing that your body's going through. It's changing your way your body's set
Yeah,
up.
yeah, exactly. All right. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks, Matisse.
All right. Take care.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, nice. Yeah, I wonder if people tell Roger about how much I talk about him. I sometimes wonder. Like one time, he did send me a video, or somebody sent him a video where I was talking about him or something, and he sent it back and like put a heart or something. Yeah, so that is enough today. So there's been like no answering any written questions. I so appreciate the written questions, and please send them again next week, because it might be next week that I answer them. But I'll just have a quick look through to see if there's any comments or anything to try to. Paul Hudcombe, that's it. Paul Hudcombe. Yeah, so it's in the chat. Matisse, how to spell that? Yeah, that's him, I think. Oh yeah, so there is a lot of suggestions. Paul Hudcombe, yeah, I was beyond those. Yeah. I don't know how you pronounce his last name. Yeah, okay. I just have a look in Telegram and think to comment to on questions. Oh yes, also in the Telegram chat, people have put some suggestions for you, Matisse, as well. Okay, nice. And maybe someone check the YouTube video later, because maybe someone will put some comments in the YouTube video that's uploaded. Yeah, nice. Yeah, thank you everyone. So there might not be many live streams for the next month, so just check in with my channel just because I'm traveling and family stuff. Yeah. Yeah, okay. So I just say goodbye to everyone on YouTube, and then if you stay in Zoom, I'll say goodbye to everyone in Zoom after. So thank you everybody on YouTube. I really appreciate everyone's commitment and dedication to this subject. It's so amazing that we're all here sharing in this together. Yeah, and I really wish you everything, not one or two or three things, but every God-blessed thing. Yeah. And as Roger would say, peace for now.